What's going on, everyone? It's Foxxy here, and today I have finally another review of a balisong, otherwise known as a butterfly knife. The knife I have today is unlike any other I've reviewed on my channel. It's actually a name brand knife that is by no means cheap. What I will be reviewing is this balisong 4 made by Bear Ops, which is a division under the company Bear & Son Cutlery. This knife at the time of its purchase was around $105, although I've seen that price tag dip down around the mid-80s depending on where you purchase this from. Working our way up from the top of the knife down, we have a nice spear point design with a few cutouts on the carbon steel blade, which looks very nice, but what I really love about this blade, other than the gorgeous powder-coated finish, is that the guard is basically non-existent. It's almost flush with the metal of the handle, and I love this design because I flipped numerous other balisongs that had guards that were pointed or more pronounced, and I've probably pinched and hurt myself more from those knives than I have ever accidentally cut myself while messing up a trick. The knife does not come razor sharp, but it still has a good enough edge to where you could slice yourself pretty damn good if you botch a trick. I know this firsthand because I have a scar on my index finger from the blade of this knife due to me botching a behind the 8-ball trick, so yeah, knives are sharp evidently. The tang pins seem to be made of good quality steel considering there is very little, if any, wear on the tang pins at all. A lot of times with cheaper butterfly knives, these tang pins will wear down to the point you can't lock the knife in either open or closed position, and if you have the knife in your pocket, you run the risk of it opening as you're walking around or whatever it is you're doing. The balisong 4 has probably the best tang pins of any butterfly knife I've flipped so far. The handles are made from T6 aircraft-grade aluminum, which is typically used in bicycle frames, fly fishing reels, and even upper and lower receivers on non-military spec AR-15 rifles. So I doubt these handles are going to break on you while flipping, unlike cheaper knives made from crappier materials. The handles are made in the sandwich construction design. Here's another knife that is solid body. Is there a major difference between solid and sandwich construction? The only thing I've noticed is that typically solid body knives are heavier since there is more steel involved in the handles, but honestly it all comes down to personal preferences. Some people swear by one handle type over the other. I don't really give a shit as long as the handles are built well, they're comfortable, and more importantly, they don't break while flipping. The design of the handle is unique, not necessarily with the shape, but instead the color design. You see, they put this light blue as a base layer and then splattered pink paint on top, which created this almost web-like look. I don't know if you can really tell on camera here, but the effect of that leaves the pink paint with a raised texture. The handles have good grip as it is, but having this texture adds to the grip just a hair more. I could see people not liking the design or feeling of the raised texturing from the paint, but it's worth pointing out that if you don't like this off-the-wall color scheme, the balisong 4 comes in a good variety of different color options depending on what you prefer. The spacers in between the handles, I'm going to be a little nitpicky here, so fair warning, they are not lined up flush with the handles whatsoever. I think part of that is because the triangular shaped spacers only have 2 screws and they are on the bottom part of the spacer. Had they changed the design slightly, they could have easily put 3 screws just to make the spacers more secure and flush with the handles. Again, you might think I'm being nitpicky, and that's fine, but for the price and it being thrown around that it's American made, I expect better. Much better. While I personally love the paint on this knife, it does have its flaws. After just using the knife for the first week, I already had a little bit of paint rubbing off where the tang pin hits the handle and where the latch rests when it is in the open or closed position. It's not bad by any means, God no, but still slightly disappointing. I am happy that the black powder-coated blade, on the other hand, is still in just as good as condition as when I first got it. This knife does not have a spring latch, but instead just this floppy piece of metal here. That's very annoying, considering there are a ton of cheap ass knives on the market that have spring latches, some of which can be easily purchased for just $10. This knife is a $150 knife at full retail price. Why does it have this lazy, cheap ass dangly bullshit? I'm sorry, but there's no excuse for it. You may think I'm being harsh about this, but think about it. If a $10 knife from fucking China has a spring latch, a $100 plus American-made knife probably should have it too, don't you think? Anyway, now that I got that rant out there, another thing that kind of bothers me about this knife is that after flipping this for roughly 1 month, it started coming apart. The screws were loosening up on the handles, and same goes for the pivot screws. I kinda expected that Bear Ops would have at least taken the time and effort of putting a thread locker of some type on the screws, but it was obvious they didn't. So if you purchase this knife, please don't take any chances with that sort of thing. Put thread locker on. As far as how this knife performs, I do think it's better than average, certainly miles better than most knives I've flipped in the past. I think a lot of that has to do with the handles being comfortable to flip with, and the fact that this knife uses 304 bearings and bronze phosphorus washers. It performs great, and it has just the right amount of weight that I think most flippers will enjoy. The only negative aspect I could possibly think of is that I do worry that the handle play will get worse over time. It's not bad now by any means, but just from casually flipping knives most of my life, I can definitely see the handle play becoming worse to the point of being annoying within the next 6 months to a year. I've heard some complaints about the tang pins breaking off while flipping or even coming apart. These tang pins are screwed together. You can just take them apart and put thread locker on so that they don't unscrew. As far as them breaking, I've not had any problems with that sort of thing, obviously, but there have been numerous complaints of that going on, so I can't say that won't happen to you or even myself at some point. So what are my final thoughts about this knife by Bear Ops? I love this knife, I really do, but I don't think I would ever purchase it with my own money. This was actually a Christmas gift from last year, and I love the way it looks. Yes, the design is technically basic, but I love it. I think Bear Ops knocked it out of the park in terms of looks. It performs very well, although I don't know if it's really that much better than my best Chinese balisong. It's weird. I think if this knife was around $70, I would recommend checking it out, but for the price, you're better off, honestly, with something else. I'd say to check out the Bradley Kimura, but I recently found out that those knives are now made by Baron Sons, and their quality control, from what I understand, is pretty hit and miss. But don't take my word for it, I'm just kind of relaying information that was told to me. So that's all I have for you all, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the review, and I'll see you all next time.